Welcome back to Lobotomy Corporation. I'm Grillmastah, and today we have Queen Bee. Queen Bee appears to be a giant, twisted, nightmarish form of a hornet, or honeybee. The armor and weapon of Queen Bee is right here on Cooper. The weapon is a gun, so it is actually rather nice and I use it commonly. When you send in an employee with all-around stats of 3. Instinct is common, insight is high, attachment is common, and repression is very low. For bees, a damaged hive is something which cannot be tolerated. The highest priority for the bees would be the safety of the hive. If Cooper feels a sharp pain in the stomach or a tickling sensation in the neck, the only available action will be look up at the blue sky one last time. Queen Bee wants more and more and more drones, which will bring prosperity to its kingdom. When an employee completes the work, if the quality counter is reduced, Queen Bee will give off a burst of spores. The spores will infect all the employees and clerks in the area. They will begin to transform into these giant bees, the worker bees. The worker bees will be going around continuously infecting everybody and turning them all into more and more bees. They will continue to spread around your facility until they are taken care of. The killer bees can be taken care of pretty well by most employees if they have good armor. With olive gear, they go down very quickly. The story of Queen Bee. This abnormality assumes the form of a monstrous hybrid of a queen bee and beehive. The exposed cross-sections reveal dark red particles that look like sliced meat. Its face is severely distorted. There are wings, but it does not function as a wing. One of the eyes is relatively intact, and its pupil moves to scan intruders. The abnormality always stands still, so it is assumed to not move. The abnormality always stands still, so it is assumed that it does not move. When certain requirements are fulfilled, it spreads spores around it. It will generate billions of spores in a 20-meter radius. The existence of life forms in the vicinity seems to be one of the key requirements. No immediate change was found from the employees who inhaled spores, and several tests failed to detect any notable symptoms. Afterwards, the employee who inhaled spores suffered severe pain in the occipital lobe and abdomen. Some time after, the employee's head detached from the body and a drone abnormality came out of it. It has been confirmed the spores carry drone eggs, and they hatch inside a living host. Based on the findings from the autopsy of the employee killed by the abnormality, we believe that the larva preys on anything from blood, organs, or fat, and freely moves around the body. When it becomes too large to move, it creates a cocoon near the intestines. The host feels extreme hunger at this stage, eating much more than usual. The cocoon moves upwards as it grows, finally damaging the artery and cricothyroid with its jaws and severs its host's head from the body. It will come out of the body, expending the severed parts from its host. Counseling log, redacted, talked about tickling sensation around the neck for some time. I also saw take several digestives. Who would have thought that that would be such a serious issue? I never knew I would be the one to witness that horrible moment. Omitted. We were just chatting, and then stopped talking. He was still scratching his neck. His neck was so red that I was worried he might have an infection or something. Then he started to twist his neck in a strange direction. That was when I realized the severity of the situation. He could not have been twisting his neck that way on his own. It seemed like someone was forcibly twisting his neck. And then I heard a sound of something tearing, like the noise you might hear when shredding paper, and his head just popped off. It fell on the ground with a damp plop. Then something came out of his neck, like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon, wings, a yellow body, teeth, and something I never want to see again, a monster. Omitted. It had no eyes, but it seemed to be aware of me, but it didn't want to attack me. It picked up the head and started for the containment facility like the drone carrying honey. Sometimes I still hear the sound of its jaws moving, its wings fluttering. Drone. Thought to be a member of the same species as the queen bee, its form is very different from the queen, except for its color. It has 8 legs, a limited flying capacity, and ability to hover approximately 1 meter above the ground. The head, thorax, and abdomen can be easily distinguished. Unlike its queen, it doesn't have eyes or antennae. Something resembling intestines drags behind it at the end of its tail. They only show two behaviors. They either provide nutrients to the queen or focus on increasing their numbers. When encountering an employee, it attacks the head with its jaws, smashing it and inserting a larva into the victim. Management Tips 1. When the work result was normal, quell counter was reduced with a normal probability. Management Tip 2. When the work result was bad, quell counter was reduced with a high probability. Management Tip 3. When the quell counter reached 0, Queen Bee emitted red spores all over the department. Management Tip 4. Upon observing the abnormality, it has been confirmed the spores attached to an employee for a certain amount of time inflict red damage to its victim. In addition, the spore-eroded employee was significantly slower to move and reduced HP, could not be cured by a regenerator and bullets. Management Tip 5. When Poovy's HP had been depleted, a giant drone burst out of Poovy's body. Drones attacked the nearby employee. From the corpse of the employee attacked by drones, more drones emerged. The instinct is very low on 1 and 2, common on 3 through 5. Insight is very low 1 through 2. 3 and 4 is common, 5 is high. Attachment is very low on 1 and 2, common 3, 4, and 5. And repression is very low all across the board. The weapon is a red damage. It is long range though, and it's very fast, so it is very nice to have for fighting abnormalities. You would not want to use it on your own employees because it will kill them. The armor is 0.7 in red, white, and black, and 1.5 to pale. I use this armor quite frequently because it is very nice to have. The gift is HP plus 2, SP plus 2, and it looks rather fetching. But at the same time, this is our abnormality that does have a frequency of infecting employees around it, so if you have clerks or employees near it, it's not necessarily worth coming in. It's just better to leave alone unless you have to go in here. It has a quell counter of 1, so it will freak out rather often if you do not have a good outcome to your situation. But it is non-escape, so it does not actually escape itself. And that has been Queen Bee. Until next time.